The strawberry milkshake was still dripping from Marcus Chen's $10,000 suit when he smiled, and that's when Sarah knew she had made a terrible mistake. Her hand was frozen in the air, still holding the empty glass. The entire Golden Terrace restaurant had gone completely silent. Every single person was staring. Some had their phones out, already recording. Sarah's heart was beating so loud she could hear it in her ears. But Marcus? He just sat there, calm, still. Pink liquid sliding down his gray hair, over his forehead, dripping off his nose onto his crisp white shirt. And he was smiling. Not a nice smile, not a friendly smile, a smile that said, "You just made the worst decision of your life." Sarah wanted to run. Every part of her body was screaming at her to drop the glass and run as fast as she could, but her legs wouldn't move. She was stuck, standing there like a statue, watching that terrible smile spread across Marcus Chen's face. "Well," Marcus said quietly, wiping a drop of milkshake from his cheek. "That was interesting. This is where our story really begins. But to understand why Sarah just threw a milkshake at the richest, most powerful, most dangerous man in the entire city, we need to go back. Back to 3 weeks ago. Back to when Sarah's life was hard, but at least it made sense. Back to before Marcus Chen destroyed everything she loved. Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story like this. Now, let's continue. 3 weeks earlier, Sarah Monroe was having the worst year of her life, but she was surviving. She was 24 years old. She worked as a waitress at the Golden Terrace, the fanciest restaurant in the city. The kind of place where a single meal cost more than Sarah made in a week. Where movie stars ate lunch, where people made business deals worth millions of dollars over dessert. Sarah had been working there for 2 years. She was good at her job. She smiled even when customers were rude. She remembered orders perfectly. She never spilled anything or got anything wrong. She worked hard, kept her head down, and never complained. She couldn't afford to complain. Her mom was dying, cancer, stage 4. The doctor said she had maybe 6 months left, maybe less. There was one treatment that could help, one treatment that might give her mom a few more years, maybe even save her life completely. But it was expensive, really, really expensive. $50,000. And the insurance company said no, they wouldn't pay for it. So Sarah was saving every single penny she earned, every tip, every paycheck. She worked double shifts. She skipped meals. She lived in a tiny apartment with 3 other roommates. She hadn't bought new clothes in over a year. Everything went into a shoebox under her bed. $18,000. That's how much she had saved in 2 years. She needed $32,000 more. Her mom didn't have 2 more years. Marcus Chen came into the restaurant every Tuesday at noon. Always the same table by the window. Always alone. Always ordered the same thing. Grilled salmon with no sauce, vegetables on the side, sparkling water with lime. Sarah had served him maybe 50 times over 2 years. He never looked at her. Not really. She was just the waitress, just the person who brought his food and filled his water glass. She was invisible to him. That's how rich people were. Sarah understood that. She didn't take it personally. But 3 weeks ago, on a Tuesday that started like any other Tuesday, everything changed. Sarah brought Marcus his salmon. As she set the plate down, her hand slipped just a tiny bit. A single drop of water fell from the glass onto the edge of the table. "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir," Sarah said quickly. She grabbed her cloth and wiped it up immediately. Marcus looked up at her. Really looked at her. For the very first time in 2 years. His eyes were cold, dark, like looking into a frozen lake. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah, sir." "How long have you worked here, Sarah?" 2 years, sir." Marcus nodded slowly, studying her face like he was reading a book. "You're very good at your job. I've been watching you." Sarah's heart jumped. The owner had been watching her? "Thank you, sir. That really means a lot to me." "I like people who work hard," Marcus said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "People who don't complain. People who understand their place in the world. Something about the way he said their place made Sarah feel cold inside, but she smiled anyway. I always try to do my best, sir. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. It was made of black leather and looked more expensive than Sarah's entire wardrobe. He took out a $100 bill and held it out to her. Sarah stared at it. $100? Just like that? Sir, I can't accept. Take it, Marcus said. It wasn't a request. It was an order. You've earned it. Sarah took the money with shaking hands. $100. That was 2 days of groceries. That was money toward her mom's treatment. Thank you so much, sir. You have no idea what this means to me. Oh, I think I do, Marcus said, and he smiled. That smile. Sarah would remember that smile forever. It wasn't kind. It wasn't warm. It was the smile of a cat watching a mouse. As Sarah walked away, she felt his eyes following her. Watching. Always watching. She should have run then. She should have known something was wrong. But she didn't. Because $100 meant hope, and hope made people blind. The next Tuesday, Marcus gave her $200. You're doing excellent work, Sarah, he said. Keep it up. Sarah couldn't believe it. $200! She thanked him over and over. She could barely focus on her other tables. She kept touching the money in her pocket, making sure it was real. The Tuesday after that, he gave her $500. $500. You have a bright future ahead of you, Marcus told her. If you're smart, if you listen to the right people, if you know how to be loyal. The word loyal hung in the air like smoke. I am loyal, sir, Sarah said. I would never— Good, Marcus interrupted. That's very good to hear. Sarah walked away with the $500 in her pocket and a sick feeling in her stomach. Something was wrong. She knew something was wrong. But the money was so good. At this rate, she could save enough for her mom's treatment in just a few months instead of years. She told herself it was fine. He was just being generous. Rich people did that sometimes, right? They gave money to people who worked hard. It didn't mean anything bad. But at night, alone in her tiny bedroom, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about that smile, about the way Marcus looked at her, about the word loyal. On the fourth Tuesday, Marcus brought a friend, a younger man in an expensive gray suit. He had slicked-back black hair and a smile that looked sharp, like a knife. They sat at the window table together, talking quietly, looking at papers spread across the table. Sarah came over with her notepad, ready to take their order. Sarah, Marcus said, I want you to meet David. He works for me. He handles my special projects. Nice to meet you, sir, Sarah said politely. David didn't say anything. He just looked at her, up and down, like she was a car he was thinking about buying. It made Sarah's skin crawl. She's the one? David asked Marcus. Yes, Marcus said. Perfect for what we need. Smart, hard-working, desperate. That last word hit Sarah like a punch. Desperate. Sarah, Marcus said, folding his hands on the table. Sit down. I want to talk to you about a business opportunity. I'm actually working right now, sir. I have other tables. Sit down. Marcus's voice didn't get louder, but it got colder. So cold that Sarah felt ice in her chest. She sat. Marcus leaned forward. I'm about to close a very important business deal. A very, very large deal, worth about $40 million. But there's a small problem. Some of the paperwork requires signatures from people who are unavailable to sign right now. Sarah's mouth went dry. Unavailable? Dead, David said with a little laugh. Or in prison. Or just too smart to sign. What I need, Marcus continued, is someone to witness those signatures. Someone to say officially that they saw these people sign the papers, even though technically they didn't actually see it happen. The restaurant suddenly felt like it was spinning. You want me to lie? Sarah whispered. I want you to be smart, Marcus said. His eyes were locked on hers. I want you to think about your mother, about her cancer, about those hospital bills, about that treatment she needs, the treatment that costs $50,000, the treatment that could save her life. Sarah felt like she couldn't breathe. How do you know about my mom? Marcus smiled, that terrible smile. Sarah, I own this restaurant. I own the building you live in. I own the hospital where your mother is being treated. I know everything about you. I know you're $18,000 short. I know your mother has less than 6 months to live without that treatment. I know you work 16-hour days and still can't save fast enough. Tears started running down Sarah's face. Here's what I'm offering you, Marcus said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. He opened it and showed Sarah what was inside. Stacks of $100 bills. $50,000, cash, right now, today. All you have to do is sign one little paper. Say you witnessed some signatures. That's it. Your mom gets her treatment. She lives. You become the hero who saved her. Sarah stared at the money. $50,000. Right there. Real. Her mom could live. Her mom could get better. All her problems would be solved in 1 second. And if I say no? Sarah asked, her voice breaking. Marcus's smile disappeared. Then you say no, you walk away, you keep working your 16-hour shifts, you keep saving your pennies, and in 4 months, when your mother dies because you couldn't save her fast enough, you'll have to live with that choice for the rest of your life. He leaned even closer. Sarah could smell his expensive cologne. But that's not all, Marcus continued. If you say no, I'll also make sure you lose this job. I'll call every restaurant, every store, every business in this city. I'll tell them you stole from me, that you're a thief, you'll never work anywhere again. And your mother's insurance claim? I'll make one phone call and it gets denied, completely. She won't get any treatment at all, not even the basic care she's getting now. Sarah felt like she was drowning. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me, Marcus said. I didn't become a billionaire by being nice, Sarah. I became a billionaire by doing whatever it takes to win. And right now, I need you. So you have 2 choices. Take the money and save your mother, or refuse and destroy both of your lives. You have until tomorrow to decide. He pushed the envelope across the table. Think carefully. Then Marcus and David stood up and walked out of the restaurant, leaving Sarah sitting there, staring at $50,000, shaking so hard she thought she might fall apart. That night, Sarah sat on the floor of her tiny apartment, holding the envelope. She hadn't opened it. She was too scared to open it. If she opened it, if she touched that money, it would feel real. It would feel like she was already saying yes. Her roommate, Jenny, found her there at 2 a.m., crying in the dark. Sarah? What's wrong? What happened? Sarah told her everything, the whole story. Marcus, the money, the threats, all of it. When she finished, Jenny was quiet for a long time. What are you going to do? Jenny finally asked. I don't know, Sarah sobbed. If I say yes, I'm helping him do something illegal, something bad. People could get hurt. But if I say no, my mom dies. She dies, Jenny. And it's my fault because I couldn't save her. Jenny sat down next to her and took her hand. Sarah, listen to me. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. Your mom being sick isn't your fault. Not having enough money isn't your fault. And whatever Marcus is planning, that's not your fault either. But I could save her. By helping a monster hurt other people? Jenny said gently. Sarah, I know your mom. She's the kindest person I've ever met. If she knew you did something terrible to save her, it would break her heart. It would kill her worse than any cancer. Sarah knew Jenny was right. She knew it in her bones. Her mom had always taught her to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. But doing the right thing meant watching her mom die. Sarah cried until the sun came up. The next morning, Sarah walked into the Golden Terrace with the envelope still sealed. She found Marcus at his usual table. Her hands were shaking. Her voice was shaking. But she stood up straight and looked him in the eye. I can't do it, she said. Marcus didn't look surprised. He took a sip of his water. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. You understand what this means? Your mother dies. You lose everything." "I understand," Sarah said. Tears were running down her face, but her voice was steady. "But I can't help you hurt people. I can't do something wrong, even to save someone I love. My mom taught me that, and she would never want me to—" "How touching," Marcus interrupted. His voice was like ice. "Truly, very noble, very stupid, but noble." He stood up and buttoned his jacket. "You're fired," he said. "Clear out your locker and leave. Security will escort you out." Sarah's legs almost gave out, but she nodded. "Okay. And Sarah?" Marcus smiled that terrible smile one more time. "I meant what I said. I'll destroy you. You'll never work in this city again. And your mother? I'll make sure she suffers. I'll make sure her last few months are as painful and miserable as possible. That's what happens when people tell me no." Then he walked away. Sarah stood there, in the middle of the restaurant where she'd worked for 2 years, and felt her entire world collapse. But she had done the right thing. Even though it cost her everything, she had done the right thing. Except Marcus wasn't done with her yet. 2 days later, Sarah's mom called her from the hospital, crying. "Sarah, baby, something's wrong. The hospital just told me my insurance has been canceled. They said there was fraud on my claim. They said I have to leave. They're kicking me out of the hospital, Sarah. I don't understand what's happening." Sarah felt like she'd been hit by a truck. Marcus had actually done it. He had actually destroyed her mother's insurance. "Mom, stay calm," Sarah said, even though she wanted to scream. "I'll figure this out. I'll fix it. I promise." But she couldn't fix it. She called the insurance company 50 times. They said the case was closed. They said there was evidence of fraud. They wouldn't explain. They wouldn't listen. Every door was shut in her face. Sarah spent 3 days trying to save her mom's insurance. 3 days of being put on hold, transferred to different departments, told there was nothing they could do. On the 4th day, her mom was discharged from the hospital. She came home to Sarah's tiny apartment, weak and pale and confused. "I'm so sorry, baby," her mom kept saying. "I'm so sorry I'm such a burden." "You're not a burden, Mom," Sarah said, holding her hand. "None of this is your fault. This is all because of one evil man who can't stand being told no." That's when Sarah decided. Marcus Chen thought he had won. He thought he had destroyed her. He thought she would just disappear quietly and let him get away with it. But he was wrong. Sarah might not be rich. She might not be powerful. She might just be a waitress with an empty bank account and a dying mother. But she wasn't going to let him win, not without a fight. Sarah spent the next week digging into Marcus Chen's life. She looked up everything she could find about him online, every article, every interview, every business deal. She called people who used to work for him. She asked questions. She listened. She learned. And she discovered something. Marcus Chen was exactly as terrible as she thought. Actually, he was worse. He had destroyed dozens of people just like her. People who got in his way, people who refused to help him, people who tried to expose him. He crushed them like bugs and never looked back. But here's what Sarah also learned. Marcus was about to close that $40 million deal, the one he needed fake signatures for. It was happening in 2 weeks, at a big business lunch, at the Golden Terrace restaurant. Sarah called the restaurant. She begged her old manager, Mr. Peterson, to let her work that day. Just one shift, just a few hours. "Sarah, I can't," Mr. Peterson said. "Marcus Chen told me if I ever hire you back, he'll shut this place down. I have 40 employees who need their jobs. I'm sorry." "Please," Sarah begged. "I'm not asking for my job back. Just one day, one lunch shift. He won't even know I'm there. I'll stay in the kitchen. I need the money. My mom is dying. Please." Mr. Peterson was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. "One shift. That's it. And if Marcus sees you, you run. Deal?" Deal. 2 weeks later, Sarah walked into the Golden Terrace wearing her old uniform. She kept her head down. She stayed in the back. She helped in the kitchen, washing dishes, preparing salads. She watched and waited. At exactly noon, Marcus Chen walked in with 6 other men in expensive suits. They sat at the big table in the center of the restaurant. Papers were spread out everywhere. Everyone looked serious. This was it. The big deal. Sarah watched from the kitchen door. Her heart was pounding. She wasn't exactly sure what she was going to do. She just knew she had to do something. She couldn't let Marcus win. She couldn't let him get away with destroying her and her mom and probably dozens of other people. She thought about confronting him, about yelling at him in front of all those important business people, about telling everyone what he'd done to her. But who would believe her? She was nobody, just a broke waitress. He was a billionaire. He would just have security throw her out and nothing would change. Then Sarah saw it, sitting on the counter in front of her. A strawberry milkshake. Someone had ordered it but then changed their mind. It was just sitting there, thick and pink and cold. And Sarah had an idea. It was stupid. It was crazy. It probably wouldn't change anything, but at least she would get one moment. One moment where Marcus Chen didn't have all the power. One moment where he wasn't in control. One moment where the little person won. Sarah picked up the milkshake. Her hands were shaking so bad she almost dropped it. She took a deep breath. Then she walked out of the kitchen, across the restaurant, straight up to Marcus Chen. He didn't see her coming. He was too busy talking, too busy laughing with his rich friends, too busy counting his money and planning his next victim. Sarah stopped right behind him. "This is for my mom," she said, and she poured the entire strawberry milkshake over his head. Which brings us back to now. The strawberry milkshake was still dripping from Marcus Chen's $10,000 suit when he smiled, and that's when Sarah knew she had made a terrible mistake. The restaurant was completely silent. Everyone was staring. Some people had their phones out, recording everything. Marcus wiped his face slowly, carefully. He looked at the pink liquid on his hand. Then he looked up at Sarah. "Well," he said quietly, "that was interesting." Sarah waited for him to yell, to call security, to have her arrested. She was ready for all of it, but Marcus just kept smiling. "Do you feel better now, Sarah?" he asked. "Yes," Sarah said. Her voice was shaking, but she meant it. "Actually, I do." "Good," Marcus said. "I'm glad, because you just gave me exactly what I needed." Sarah's heart stopped. "What?" Marcus stood up. Strawberry milkshake dripped onto the floor. He didn't seem to care. "You assaulted me," he said, "in front of 40 witnesses, on camera. That's assault and battery, Sarah. That's a crime. And you know what happens now?" He leaned close to her, his voice dropping to a whisper only she could hear. "Now I sue you. I sue you for everything, your wages, your apartment, everything you will ever earn for the rest of your life. And when you can't pay, you'll go to jail. And while you're in jail, your mother will die alone. No one to take care of her, no one to hold her hand, all because you couldn't control your temper." Sarah felt the world spinning. She had played right into his hands. He had won. Again. "Security!" Marcus called out. "Remove this woman from my restaurant." 2 big security guards started walking towards Sarah, but then something unexpected happened. One of the businessmen at Marcus's table stood up. He was older, maybe 60, with white hair and a kind face. "Actually, Marcus," the man said, "I think we should all see this video." "What video?" Marcus asked. The older man held up his phone. "The one that just went viral, the one from 3 weeks ago." Everyone in the restaurant started looking at their phones. "I don't know what you're talking about," Marcus said, but his smile was gone now. "Really?" the older man said. "Because someone just uploaded a recording of you threatening this young woman, telling her to commit fraud, telling her you'd destroy her mother's insurance if she didn't help you forge documents. It's already been viewed 2 million times in the last 10 minutes. The police are probably on their way here right now." Marcus's face went white. Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. Someone had recorded that conversation? But how? Who? Then she saw him, Mr. Peterson, her old manager, standing in the corner. He was holding his phone, and he was smiling. He had been recording that day, the day Marcus threatened her. He had been recording the whole thing, and he had waited until this exact moment to release it. "You're finished, Marcus," the older businessman said. "That deal we were about to sign? It's off. In fact, I'm calling my lawyers right now. If you forged documents for this deal, you probably forged them for our past deals, too. I want an investigation into every contract you've ever signed." The other businessmen at the table were already getting up, already making phone calls, already walking away from Marcus Chen like he was made of poison. Marcus just stood there, dripping with milkshake, watching his entire empire collapse in real time. He turned to Sarah. "You," he said, "you did this." "No," Sarah said. "You did this. You did this to yourself." The police came 15 minutes later. They arrested Marcus Chen right there in the Golden Terrace restaurant, in front of everyone, still covered in strawberry milkshake. It turned out Mr. Peterson wasn't the only one who had evidence. Once the video went viral, 12 other people came forward. Other people Marcus had threatened. Other people he had blackmailed. Other people he had destroyed. All of them had been too scared to speak up before, but seeing Sarah pour that milkshake, seeing her stand up to him even though she had nothing, even though she knew it would cost her everything, it gave them courage. Together, they buried him. Marcus Chen was charged with fraud, extortion, blackmail, and about 20 other crimes. He went to trial. He was found guilty. He lost everything. His money, his businesses, his power. All of it, gone. And he went to prison for 15 years. But here's the best part of the story. After the video went viral, people all over the city saw it. They saw what Marcus had done to Sarah and her mom. They saw how he had tried to destroy an innocent woman just because she wouldn't break the law for him. And they were angry. Someone started a fundraising page for Sarah's mom. Within 24 hours, it had raised $60,000. Way more than enough for the treatment. Within a week, it had raised $200,000. People wanted to help. They wanted Sarah's mom to live. They wanted to prove that good people could win. Sarah's mom got her treatment, the best treatment available, the kind that rich people get. And it worked. 6 months later, her mom was in remission. The cancer was gone. As for Sarah, she never went back to being a waitress. The video of her pouring that milkshake had been viewed 50 million times. She became famous. Not movie star famous, but famous enough. People recognized her on the street. They wanted to hear her story. A publisher offered her a book deal. She wrote about everything that had happened, about standing up to powerful people, about doing the right thing even when it costs you everything, about how sometimes the small people can win if they're brave enough to fight. The book became a bestseller. Sarah used the money to start a foundation that helps people who are being bullied by rich and powerful people, people who can't afford lawyers, people who have nowhere else to turn. She helps them fight back. She thinks about Marcus Chen sometimes, about how one man with money and power almost destroyed her entire life, about how close she came to giving up. But mostly she thinks about that milkshake, about that one moment of crazy courage, about how sometimes, when you have nothing left to lose, that's when you find out how strong you really are. It's been 3 years now since that day at the Golden Terrace. Sarah is 27. Her mom is healthy. They live together in a nice apartment, nothing fancy, but it's theirs. They have enough money. They have each other. They're happy. Last week, Sarah got a letter in the mail. It was from Marcus Chen, from prison. She almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of her. The letter was short, only 3 sentences. "You destroyed my life. I lost everything because of you. I hope you're happy." Sarah read it twice. Then she wrote back. Her letter was even shorter. "I didn't destroy your life. You destroyed your own life by being cruel. And yes, I am happy, very happy." She mailed the letter and never thought about Marcus Chen again. So what do you think? Did Sarah do the right thing by pouring that milkshake, or should she have just walked away and let Marcus win? Sometimes, standing up to powerful people feels impossible. Sometimes it feels like they'll always win because they have more money, more connections, more everything. But Sarah's story shows us something important. It shows us that courage doesn't come from being rich or powerful. It comes from deciding that some things are more important than being safe. Some things are worth fighting for, even when you know you might lose. Sarah risked everything for what was right. And in the end, she didn't just save herself and her mom. She saved 12 other people who Marcus would have destroyed. She changed the law so that people like Marcus can't get away with threats and blackmail as easily. She made the world just a little bit better. All because of one strawberry milkshake and 5 seconds of courage. What would you have done in Sarah's position? Would you have taken the money to save your mom? Would you have poured the milkshake? Or would you have walked away and tried to forget it all? Leave a comment and let me know. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about courage and justice and doing the right thing even when it's hard, subscribe to our channel. We share stories like this every week. Stories about real people facing impossible choices. Stories about the moment when ordinary people do extraordinary things.